Hi, everybody. Okay, we're here again, a very important lesson that I want to give over to you. And we're pre-recording this on May 9th, the 17th day of the counting of the Omer, where the custom is amongst the men not to shave and other things because of that period. Now, today we're going to speak about 6th of Sivan. What happened on the 6th of Sivan? That is the day that the Jewish people assembled in front of Mount Sinai. They stood in front of Mount Sinai hearing the words from God. Again, this is the month of Sivan, right? They came out of Egypt. They came out of Egypt on the 15th of Nisan. Nisan, Iyar, Sivan. And they traveled 50 days until they reached Mount Sinai. And at that point, it's very significant because what had happened was when they left Egypt on the 15th of Nisan, the month of Nisan, they traveled 50 days to Mount Sinai, and a lot of things happened on the 6th of Sivan. And that we learn now from the Torah, in that on that day, the Jewish people stood as Hashem, God, Hashem, to be the only one that creates. The other things are willed into its existence. So, on the 6th of Sivan, the people assembled. There were 3 million people, as indicated in the Torah, 600,000 men between the ages of 20 and 55. So we compute to say that approximately 3 million people stood there. And what did they hear? They heard on that one day the giving of the 10 Commandments, the words that were recorded in the Torah, and also on the stone tablets. They heard that, and it continues in the Torah, ve'ele, and these in Hebrew, and ve'ele mishpatim, and these are the mishpatim. All the civil laws, the responsibilities, liabilities of the Jewish people that they were to live by, the rewards and punishment for keeping the commandments, and from chapter 21, Ve'ele Mishpatim, which are enumerated, and then it goes on to speak about the common sense practices of people not to accept a evil report, listen to the grievance, and don't go after the majority for evil. Be your own man, think out logically, and don't follow the masses for evil. And it continues on chapter 24, and the people saw a vision. They saw a vision of Hashem, and the vision showed that God was partaking together with the Jewish people the offerings that the Jewish people offered, and God, so to speak, was happy with the sweet savor that came out of the offerings, and they ate and drank together. They ate and drank together. That's on the 6th of Sivan. The 6th of Sivan. They got the Ten Commandments. They heard the voice of God, all of them standing in front of the mountain, the mishpatim, the civil decrees and laws, and also the importance of the offerings, and then the vision of God and the Jewish people standing in front of that mountain and receiving all of those directives. And that is the Sefer HaBris. Very important, because Abraham, way back in Genesis, was privy to the covenant with God, and God gave him the promise of having given the Holy Land, on which the 7 nations lived, in which they were evil and offered human sacrifices. So God drove them out, and he made a covenant with Abraham and an oath to Isaac. In chapter 26, verse 1 to 5, he made an oath to Isaac and a chok, and an indispensable decree that Jacob and his children will inherit the land. And all of that was on the 6th of Sivan. And God told Moses to repeat these happenings to the people, which he did. And then he said to writing in a book. And the book is in chapter 24. It's called Sefer HaBris in Hebrew, the book of the covenant. So actually, when the covenant was first made, having picked Abraham and his heritage, and descendants of Abraham, because I know Abraham will teach his children the ways of God. But it is only formalized in Exodus chapter 24, chapter 24, where all of these things are written down and explained and told to the Jewish people. And it's called the book, the Sefer HaBris of the covenant. And that's the covenant we made, that we are responsible for. Because all the people at that time said, Na'aseh v'nishma. They said, we will do, and we will understand. We will learn. We will do, and later we will understand and learn. The word understand is important, being that Na'aseh v'nishma, being that the understanding was given throughout the generations to embellish and emphasize the importance of all of these teachings that were given on Mount Sinai, and so that concluded the Sefer HaBris. So remember that the 6th of Sivan is the responsibility of the Jews, and all of those things happen on the 6th of Sivan of the Jewish calendar. That's Shavuos. And then in 24, God told Moses to go up to the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. And that's what he left in chapter 24 in Exodus, right? So he came to chapter 25. It says, make for me a 25:8, right? In Exodus, make for me a covenant as I want to dwell with you. Make for me a covenant as I wish to dwell with you. And the rest of the Exodus speaks about the building of this, so to speak, habitat amongst the Jewish people. All the specifications, all the furniture, all the appurtenances, all the cover and ark cover for the Torah that was to be there in the Holy of Holies in the temple. And that's what happened in 25, Exodus chapter 25. He gave over the specifications and continued chapter 26, chapter 27, chapter 28, chapter 29, chapter 30, chapter 31, and now it seems that everything was finished. Moses had the physical object that was given to him, and that was the 2 tablets with the inscription of the 10 Commandments on them, and he finalized his meeting with God, and it was about to go down and to give over to the people, before it makes mention in 31:13 and 31:17 that you should keep the Sabbath and become holy. You should work 6 days, and on the 7th day, it's so important to have menucha, rest. What the definition of rest is another matter. But the point is that it interrupts the building of the portable temple for God's residence to talk about the Sabbath. And then as it was about to go down to the people, God told him that I'm going to, the people are worshiping and cavorting and dancing around an idol, and because they had miscalculated the time of 40 days, they thought it had expired, and Moses only went up with the shirt on his back, so they tried to make a new oracle, so to receive God's words, but it was wrong. And Moses came down, and he saw the people dancing, and he threw the tablets down. He threw the tablets down and broke them and ground the idol and the golden idol, the golden calf, into the water supply, and they drank their quote unquote God. So Moses had spoken to God and prayed that he should forgive the people, and it says over there in Exodus, Vayachel, and he prayed profusely, Vayachel, and God said, Vayenachem, I will reconsider when we make my determination when they come to sin again. When they come to sin again, I will take that part of that punishment and include that in them, with them. So he came down, and he told the people how bad they did, and running to this idol, and he said that I hope God will forgive us, because if not, I told God to erase me from his ledger, from his book. And God said, when I make my ledger, I will take into account a little bit of this idol worshiping. So that's 20, chapter 32, chapter 32, and it goes on to 33. But I don't want to keep on belaboring the point that the 6th of Sivan was the time when the Jews received all of this instruction, and they said, "We Na'aseh v'nishma, we will listen, we will do, and we will understand. And that's why in every generation there are new embellishments of the Torah that was handed down during the 40 years in the desert, and that they had learned. Yes, so that's an important point. Again, on the 6th of Sivan, they received all the 10 words of the 10 commandments and all the mishpatim, and learned about the offerings that God brought up in a sweet savor. So all that happened on the 6th of Nisan, and on the 7th of Nisan, he went up again to learn with God. Now it says that it says that the beginning of wisdom is the all of Hashem. We say that every morning when we get up. Modeh ani lefonecho melech chai v'kayam shechazarto bi nishmasi be'emlo rabu emunosecho. Yiras Hashem is the beginning of wisdom, and that's what we have to keep in mind. Thanking God for what He did for us and restoring our soul, and having the showing the gratitude to God for showing us the awe and might of God. And over here, I produced, I clipped off the leaves of a tree, and it has such an important construction that we take for granted. Every leaf on the tree is facing the sun, because the abscission layer around the leaf is destroyed and it's bent towards the sun. So the sun, through photosynthesis, the chlorophyll in the leaves, and together with the liquid that comes up from the ground, from the roots, the root hairs, through osmosis, are able to bring this liquid up together with the products of photosynthesis in the leaves, and produce all kinds of further growth through the leaves, through the transportation system of the xylem and the phylum, going up and down, transporting and combining to make further growth in the tree or the plant, whatever plant it might be, and as a result, it grows until the command is given to produce a flower. So all the cells in the leaf get together and put their energies in making a bud, a flower, and a fruit. Would you believe it? The transportation system, the ingenuity, the intelligence that God willed into the plant to produce all of these creations from the seed, from this case an apple, making it colorful and making it enjoyable to eat. And it has a skin that is has a wax coating in it, preventing organisms, fungus, and other insects to destroy it, because it's for man's benefit that God made these fruits that just by the way have the minerals and vitamins and chemicals necessary to sustain life, and the animals eat this food, and it becomes part of them, and man eats the animal, the kosher animal that was designated for the Jewish people, and to understand that this is a gift from God, and to be thankful for all of these wonders. And here is just one example of the wonder that God has made for man. He willed it into existence. So, in Koheles, and there's 24 written books in the Bible, and Koheles is one of them, Ecclesiastes, and over there it says, the soul returns to God who gave it. The soul returns to God who gave it. And we just gave a brief outline of how we show gratitude every morning when we get up. We thank God for restoring our soul, and we know that we hopefully know that we will get a passing mark and go into the soul world and enjoy God's presence. And that's why we say to fortify this thought, King Solomon wrote that it is a time for planting, a time for uprooting, a time to give birth, a time to rest. So all these times are times that we should think how God was so all and creative and giving us all of these things. Time to plant, time to uproot, time to give birth. All of these things are times when we have the opportunity to thank God, and it's an important thought that God through King Solomon wrote. When we speak about King Solomon, the last sentence in chapter 12 of Koheles, Ecclesiastes, is that the main thing that people should be concerned about in life is the observance and performance of commandments, directives, and ordinances that God has commanded us to do. So as we can read it in chapter 12, verse 7. And that's the most important thing in life, and not all the other cultural waste of time activities. That's the purpose of life, and the evil inclination. We find that in Bereshit 7:21. Sin crouches at the door, its desire is to you. Sin crouches at the door, its desire is to you. But you can overcome. You should overcome, because this is how we receive our happiness, by living this way of life as Judaism teaches. Judaism teaches a way of life. It's not a religion, but it's a way of living, way of conducting our lives towards the benefit of ourselves and our families, and towards the benefit of mankind. So those are important thoughts that the Torah gives out, but we have to search and work at them to understand them, and and to see them and to believe in them. And so, so it says over there in Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 16, I afflicted you and tested you because it's for your benefit at the end, E-N-D, for it's your benefit at the end. And the Gentile prophet, it is in the Jewish Bible, aka Old Testament, that Bilam, a Gentile prophet, came and stated that, let me die the death of the righteous. Let me die the death of the righteous, and my end should be like theirs. Let me die the death of the righteous, let my end be like theirs. That's what Bilam said in chapter 23, right? And also, that I think it's 23:9. But also there, it said, it's the people, in 23:10, it's Jewish people are meant to dwell alone. The Jewish people are meant to dwell alone and not be counted amongst the masses. And who knows, but for what reason the anti-Semitism is so prevalent that even in the United Nations, there are 5 permanent members, but all the other members get a turn at the Security Council to work with the 5 permanent members, except Israel. Except Israel. When you speak about anti-Semitism, you can start at the United Nations, right? You can start right at the United Nations, and what they do and prejudice against people, and included in that is the BBC, the worst offenders of anti-Semitism. Here, the Arabs started this war, and now all the blame is on Israel because they might hurt the civilian population. They might hurt the civilian population, and Judaism and the forces, the IDF, told them to evacuate this area. But the emphasis and the drive should be on the Arabs to continue to shoot rockets and mortars and not be pressured to end the war and let the hostages go, and this terrorist Hamas should surrender or liquidate, and that's where the pressure should be, not on Israel, who live peacefully, neighborly towards each other, and then on October 7th, 2023, they did a dastardly sneak attack like the Japanese in December 7th, 1941. I mean, America, should they have not retaliated? Of course they did. They destroyed their enemy. And that's what the Jewish nation has to do, to destroy an enemy that wants to wipe them out. Yeah, so one of the biggest anti-Semitic groups is the BBC. The BBC. They are so biased against Israel. For instance, just a few days ago, this is being recorded on May 9th. Just a few days ago, the Arabs, Hamas, shot rockets at the food and supply crossing in Keren Shalom, one of the entry points. They shot rockets, and that entry point was to allow food and supplies to go in. And that sneak attack, they killed 4 Jewish soldiers, and so they closed down the entry point, Keren Shalom. But they don't emphasize that. They just emphasize that it's, the crossing point has been closed. Okay, now what we have over here is Talmud time, right? It's time to learn Torah and Talmud. Talmud Torah, that's what it was years ago. Talmud Torah. Talmud and Torah. And it's Talmud time. So here we have to learn Talmud, because that's incumbent upon us, right? Nasa v'nishma. And it says over there, and everything's in English today. Your book could be your Rebbe, your rabbi, your teaching rabbi, and you can get this book. It's about $10. It's Masorah Publications, and it's in English. Phrases in English. Read the footnotes. It's legible and understandable English. Now we were learning about the prayer of Shema Yisrael prayer, because in Deuteronomy 16:3, it says over there, Deuteronomy 16:3, that you should make mention, you should remember the going out of Egypt. You should remember the going out of Egypt every day. That's in Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 3. So that's what we have. It's incumbent upon us to remember the miracles that God performed on the 15th day of Nisan. And we recall that on that day, and we mention that every day. So the first Talmud, the first Gemara, right? Gemara and Mishnah make up Talmud. So basically, there's a Mishnah which covers, summarizes in quick detail what the Gemara is going to speak about. But the first Mishnah of the Talmud talks about the Shema Yisrael prayer that we have to say every day to mention it going out of Egypt. And it should be done in the evening and in the morning. And the question is, that the Talmud discusses, when is evening? What are the parameters of the evening prayer of the Shema Yisrael prayer? And Judah Hanassi compiled all of these teachings and went around to the schools to get a consensus of what they taught regarding this subject. And basically regarding the subject of Shema Yisrael prayer, everyone agreed in all the schools, all the yeshivas, that the onset parameter is when the Kohanim enter to eat their truma. That's the evening parameter in which one can say the prayer and get credit for mentioning going out of Egypt. No one disagrees with that. The only the question of the Gemara says, why doesn't it just say when the 3 stars have come out, instead of saying when the Kohanim enter to eat their truma? Because it's to teach us things by the way, meaning that what were the who were the Kohanim, what were they segregated for until evening when they could go out and eat. Why were they segregated? What is tumah? What is spiritual uncleanliness? So instead of writing when the 3 stars came out, they brought down things that we could learn by the way. And that's where all the 3 schools agreed to, being that this instructions were handed down by them. And basically the 3 schools are Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Akiva, and the majority of the other schools. So Rabbi Eliezer held, we're talking about the end parameter. Rabbi Eliezer held that the end parameter is at the end of the first watch, right? Again, in roundabout terms, to learn things by the way. What do you mean by what do you mean by roundabout ways? In other words, what time should it be? And Rabbi Eliezer says at the end of the first watch. What does it mean, watch? In the evening, the Kohanim did service, work, and at the end, they were divided into 3 watches. So at the end of the first watch, that's the latest you could say the Shema Yisrael and get credit for it. So, see, the watches or shifts were divided into 3 parts, others say 4, but into 3 shifts of workers, Kohanim. So, say the evening sunsets began at 6 o'clock, say 6 to 6, that's 12 hours. 3 watches, 4 hours. Each watch would be 4 hours. And so the end of the first watch would be 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. And that's the latest. But the Chachamim, majority of the rabbis said, and whom we rule by, is that's 12 midnight. You can say it till 12 midnight. And Rabbi Akiva says, you can go all the way to Omer HaShachar until the morning star, which I think is about 72 minutes before sunrise. You can say it all the way then. So it brings down a story that Rabbi Akiva's sons were at a party and they came home late and they missed the majority ruling that they should say Shema Yisrael prayer up until midnight. It was past midnight. So Rabbi Akiva's ruled that you still have time to say it up until the morning star. Why? Because the rabbi said the end parameter at midnight in order that one should accidentally pass midnight by sleeping over and not waking up till 1 a.m. They felt that they couldn't get credit for the Shema Yisrael prayer. So Rabbi Akiva says that ruling was made in order to avoid accidental transgression, but you still have all the way until the morning star arises. Again, that earlier ruling was for accidentally transgressing the time limit and come to the realization that you have up until the morning star. So that's the first Mishnah. Now, isn't that interesting? Where you go back and forth and learn out certain things. That's why the people are learning the Torah. That stays us, And you can get this book by calling 718-921-9000. 718-921-9000. And you can order the first one. I think it's $10. Or you can get it in a bookstore, Jewish bookstore. And I go to Z. Berman. You can go. Any bookstore has this booklet, and you can get you can learn Torah in English. Everything's in English. Yeah. Okay. So much for Torah time, Talmud time. Should try to read in English the portion of the week that is coming, and it's important to learn as much as you can. Now here's a picture of the flag of the Oneida Indian Nation, which represents several tribes that were displaced or thrown out of the land in America and given a runaround, not being compensated for having taken their land. And especially Senator Bernie Sanders, a Jew-hating senator from Vermont. That state of Vermont was originally inhabited by Indians, by the Abel tribe, A-B-E-L. That's where Ben and Jerry are doing their work. And they should be petitioning the government to make some kind of a settlement for the Abel Indian tribes who were driven out of their land during the French-Indian wars, between the French-Indian wars, when they were driven out of Vermont into Canada. Okay? So that's something that we should note. And the question is here: feel your soul. People say, doctors say, I've operated, never found a soul in a human. And if you look carefully, and you see that when you do a good deed, or you give, say, a present to your loved one, to your mother, to your spouse, and the loved one enjoys it, you feel good. What is that feeling? Where does that emanate from? My dear friends, that's your soul. S-O-U-L. We all have a soul. And all those good deeds and all the learning of Torah, Talmud Torah, Keneged Kulam, learning of Torah is equal to all of those good deeds. So we accumulate them, and at our demise, we turn them in like a book of green stamps, and we get a reward. Hopefully, we can get a 70% passing mark, like Rabbi Chaim Mizata Zal spoke about. So we have here in this week's Sedra Kedoshim. It's interesting that two goats were designated by Lot, one for the sins that we committed, sent to Hashem, forgiving us, and the other, all the sins of the people are piled up on this goat and sent away into the wilderness. Now, in 1530, a gentleman named Tinsdale translated the Torah, aka Old Testament, into English, and he was later executed for doing this. But the thing that he brought out was that when it spoke about the goats, the one that was sent away, he didn't know what English words to use it. So he used escaped goats. Escape. Escaped. The goat that escaped. Escaped goat. So that had all the sins on it. So in later times, they dropped the E and just made it scapegoats and put all their transgressions on the goat and all the sins that the Jewish people did, according to them, and they let that be their atonement. Yeah. So when it comes to day schools, I'm of the opinion that, you know, a lot of day schools, they have assemblies, half a day, secular, half a day, Torah subjects, praise, all kinds of distractions to learning Torah. How can you equate the importance and the subject matter of Torah to the secular teachings? And that's why I hold that if you send a child to school, to a yeshiva, to a day school, I hold that the secular subjects should be from 5 to 7 p.m., but the rest of the day should be immersed in learning, immersed in learning all types of Torah. And here I have a sign saying in Kings. There's a book in English that's called Behold the People by Rabbi Millers. And you can get the order of kings and who they were and what they were like by reading that chapter on kings. And I just want to, it made it so easy to learn and to keep it in your mind. For instance, a lot of times you're not sure who they are referring to when they use a pronoun, because Achav had two sons, Yehoram and Achaziah. And in the kingdom of Israel, they had, there's one king, Yehoshaphat, he had two things, Yehoshaphat and Achaziah. So if you use pronouns over there, you get confused as to which boy you're talking about. And just to give an example, like, you know, it's so important to learn kings because, you know, the Haftorah usually has a king mentioned in it, and you can get a feeling of what the situation was like by knowing about the king that it's talking about in the Haftorah after we read the portion of the Seder of the week. And like, for instance, you know, kings start out with Samuel appointing the first king, Shaul, and Shaul transgressed after a while, and it was taken away from him and given to David, and then his son Solomon, and then his son Rehoboam, and then Aviam, father and son, Asa, Achashia, Asa, and after Asa, Yehoshaphat, and after Yehoshaphat was Yehoram, and then Yoash, and Amaziah, Azariah, Jotham, Achaz, Hiskiyahu, an exceptionally righteous, God-fearing king, Hiskiyahu. But his son was not that way, and his son was Menashe, and his son Ammon, and then came Yoshiyahu, not Yeshayahu, which is the prophet, but Yoshiyahu, which is the king, a righteous king. He found the book of the Torah opened up to a specific place. So get that book. That's important. Behold a People by Rabbi Victor Miller. And just to break off, there was a breakaway after Solomon died. His son Rehoboam took over, and Rehoboam was in the quandary how he should teach his subjects, because his father was very strict with them, and the sages said, no, don't be that way. Let them have breathing room now. But his peers told him, be harsh like your father. And he listened to them, and as a result, Yerovam ben Nevat broke away from the kingdom of Judah and formed his own kingdom of Israel. Kingdom of Israel. And they took over by intrigue and revolt, and they put their own people in power, because from Yerovam ben Nevat came Nadav, Basra, Elam, Zimri, Omri, and Achab, who married Jezebel. Okay, I don't want to get into that, because it's interesting, but you have to work at it. And this is a picture of the 12 portion, the 12 tribes that were apportioned the land of Israel. And it's interesting to note that Gaza, where there's so much fighting going on, belongs to the God-given people Israel. The God-given land belongs to Israel, the entire land of Gaza. And that's what's happening now. The Palestinians are being driven out of that land by God, who gave it to them. And now they're rightfully taking it over, because he hardened the hearts of the Gazians, of the evil people. Snake attack, like the Japanese did on December 7th. Let's remember Pearl Harbor as we did the day before. Okay, but that's so much for that. Yeah, I'm going to have just a lot of cards in absentia. The World War II, 6 million were annihilated. Why was that? God's people. Look, it says in Deuteronomy 28:9, you walk in the ways of God and keep and observe the commandments. All the people will have fear of you. All the nations will have awe and fear of you. And in 1930s, Jews were succumbed by the evil inclination, and they want to assimilate, assimilated, so God took them out. And if you die because you were Jewish, then you automatically get the next world. And that's what happened. But those people who perpetrated those horrific, horrendous crimes against humanity should be tried in absentia. Who are the people that served in Auschwitz and all those other concentration camps, who threw the gas canisters and had them annihilated by a couple thousand each day. Who were those people? Let's find out. Oh, the Germans keep good records. We know who they were, right? It says, you should. They say only following orders. They said they're fun. Try them in absentia. Try who they were. Ansatzgruppe Commandos, Einsatzgruppe. You know where they are. You know the pictures. They have pictures. They have names where they were. Put monuments up over there that point out who these people were that did this dastardly act. But they were only following orders. They're only following orders. Look, we learn it out from the Torah. Shivcha and Puah. They were told to kill the Jewish boys at birth. They were told to kill the Jewish boys at birth. That's an order from Paro. And they refused. All the Jewish midwives refused the orders. That's how you have to conduct yourself when orders are given to kill. There's an AIPAC meeting scheduled in Washington next week. My son will be leading a delegation from West Orange, New Jersey, and right now, it's just incumbent upon us to vote Republican because Lindsey Graham and the entire Republican, more or less, elected officials are pro-Israel and see its benefit, unlike the Jew haters of Bernie Sanders and Chucky Schumer, who says that Netanyahu has lost his ways. They have to have elections right now. Who is he to meddle into the affairs of another country like that? Such a brazen act. He's up for re-election, Chucky, in 2025, next year. But Jerry Nadler's up for re-election this year. Another so-called progressive. Make sure, I saw on the news today that there's an independent Republican running for the House seat in the primary. He's the incumbent. He's been in office for 10, 12 years, and he's very anti-Israel, and he was defeated in the primary. 72% of the Jewish people favor, 72% of the people in America go along with Israel and what it is doing. Go along with Israel and what it is doing. So, that's that. So, but he was defeated. That Republican incumbent from Indiana. Okay, so here we have. This is a recent photo from New York. It reminds you of the Nazis in Germany, where they went around closing Jewish shops and writing dastardly messages on the windows. And here in America, he said the Jews control the world, and a lot of people believe that Jews control. Jews control the world. Yeah, Jews control America. Yeah. What does that mean? So we spoke about Gaza. It was given to Isaac in chapter 26 in 26 in Exodus chapter 26, 1-5. It says over there that God told Isaac to look around and to see all the land, because I am making an oath I'm making an oath to you that I will give this land of Gaza to you and to your descendants. Now, when it comes to the media and their reporting, they're just so biased at BBC, New York Times, so anti-Israel. It's a wonder how we can exist. So that's so much defund the media. Here at Bobby Yar, we spoke about in Kiev, where Zelensky, the president of Kiev, is a Jew. Let him dig out the facts about who murdered those 35,000 Jews in 3 days in Bobby Yar. They have a monument over there for the 35,000 Jews that were killed and machine gunned in 3 days. Let them look in to find out who are the culprits, and make a memorial for them, and telling them how dastardly they acted. So we have to speak to the leaders of the synagogues. Who wants to hear a sermon that you can type out? It's the people that need to be taught and to learn. And it's not by listening to sermons, but it's by taking a book like the Talmud and the other books of the Torah to discover the beauty in them. So that's that. We learned about Talmud. And look, is it not a miracle that Israel is surrounded by all of these hostile nations? Erdogan of Turkey, he came out so vociferously against the Jewish people and breaking relations with them when the Hamas were the culprits. Nobody blames them. Here, the 622 Jewish soldiers have fallen. This is Israel. This is little Israel, and surrounded by all these Arab countries. Surrounded by these. So that's what BBC Insight. Thomas time. So that's some of the things that we're trying to teach. We offer 3 parts. There's back to the environment. The environment has 3 parts per 10,000 parts of air. There is 3 parts of carbon dioxide, and we need to get that air moving. So when we have the wave air, for instance, we